Today, we're going to talk about a thinker from the 13th century whose ideas about logic and faith were so far ahead of their time that they're still making waves in our digital world. So let's get into the incredible spiritual logic of Ramon Llull.
All right, let's just jump right in with a pretty wild question. Could a monk, way back in the 13th century, have actually invented the ancestor of artificial intelligence? I know, it sounds like something straight out of a movie, but the story of Ramon Llull, well, it might just convince you that it's a lot closer to fact than fiction.
So let's meet the man himself, Ramon Llull. He wasn't just a philosopher or a mystic. He was a true innovator, a big thinker from Majorca with this absolutely colossal goal. He wanted to build a universal system, he called it his art, that could do more than just prove religious truths. He believed it could help us understand the very nature of God and reality itself.
Now, to really get why his ideas were so mind-blowing for the time, you have to picture the world he was living in. That brings us to our first section, logic, faith, and conflict.
You see, the 13th century was this hotbed of debate between Christians, Muslims, and Jews. And in that kind of environment, logic wasn't really a tool for discovery or connection. Nope, it was a weapon. It was all about winning arguments, about proving the other guy wrong, not about finding any kind of common ground.
And this really shows you the problem Llull saw. On the one side, you had the traditional logic of the day, super formal, really rigid, and totally adversarial. It was all about truth versus falsehood, black and white. But Llull's vision, it was something else entirely. He imagined a logic that was spiritual, flexible, and focused on dialogue. The goal wasn't just winning, it was something so much bigger, understanding the divine.
So how in the world did he plan to pull this off? Well, that leads us right into Section 2, where we get to look at his incredible solution, Llull's spiritual art.
This was his life's work. The art, as he called it, wasn't just another way to argue. It was a whole new system for thinking. It was designed to weave together philosophy, theology, and even science into one cohesive whole. For Llull, logic was meant to be a bridge, a tool that could lead to genuine spiritual insights and, most importantly, to real, productive communication between different faiths.
And his art was built on three really powerful ideas. First, what he called analogical knowledge. This is the belief that because God created everything, there's a kind of hidden connection, a likeness, that links all things and all ideas together. Second, it had an evangelical purpose. His system was genuinely meant to help people understand each other, not just to score debate points. And third, he was all about integrating the sciences. For Llull, philosophy, morality, logic, they weren't separate boxes. They were all just different paths on the same journey toward truth.
Okay, so this all sounds amazing in theory, right? But how did it actually work? Let's get into the nuts and bolts in Section 3.
The first thing you've got to understand is that Llull's logic wasn't a straight line. It wasn't A plus B equals C. Not at all. Think of it more like a giant, intricate web. He actually built these incredible paper machines, wheels, and figures with symbols on them. And by spinning them, he could generate every single possible combination of core ideas. It was all about revealing these hidden connections you'd never see otherwise. This is what we mean by combinatorial logic. It was totally dynamic.
And this just led to a completely new way of reasoning. First, he totally redefined categories, mixing abstract concepts with real-world qualities. Second, he moralized the whole process. For Llull, you couldn't have a truly logical argument that was also mean or malicious. To be sound, an argument had to be ethically good. And third, he was adamant that true dialogue couldn't be a battle. It had to be built on a foundation of love and respect.
So here's the absolute key to the whole thing. For Llull, you couldn't really know something just by listing its qualities. To truly know something, whether it's a person, an object, or an idea, you had to understand its essential purpose. What does it do? What is its unique function in this big, interconnected universe?
And this quote from the man himself just nails it. He says you don't define fire by saying it's hot or it's bright. Its essential definition is its unique power, its ability to set things on fire, its ignivity. Why? Because, as he says, to ignite pertains to nothing but fire. Its action is its essence. This idea was the engine driving his entire system. Now, I know this might all sound like some fascinating but dusty old philosophy, but believe me, its impact is still with us. And that brings us to our final section, a 700-year legacy. Seriously,
For over 700 years, Llull's strange, wonderful, and brilliant ideas have been quietly shaping some of the greatest minds in history. His work never really went away, it was just waiting for the rest of the world to finally catch up.
So why was he so far ahead of the curve? Because his central idea, the idea of using symbols to represent concepts and then using a mechanical method to combine them to find new truths, that's basically the foundation of computing. He was trying to design an algorithm for human reasoning itself.
And you can literally draw a line through history here. It's amazing. So around 1300, you have Llull creating his art. Fast forward 400 years, and the famous philosopher Gottfried Leibniz stumbles upon Llull's work and has this massive light bulb moment. He sees the genius in using symbols and dreams of creating a universal calculus, basically a language of pure logic that could solve any argument. And that dream, this idea of turning reasoning into a kind of math problem, well, that directly feeds the thinking that eventually leads to the first computers in the 1940s. It's a wild, winding road, but it connects a medieval mystic straight to your laptop.
So when you step back, Llull's legacy is just immense. He was a pioneer of combinatorial logic, which you could call the great-great-grandfather of modern computing. He pushed this radical idea that logic should be used for peaceful dialogue, not just for fighting. He insisted that you can't separate reason from faith and ethics, and yeah, he influenced thinkers for centuries to come.
Which leaves us with one final thought. In our own time, which is so full of polarization and angry debate, what can we learn from a 700-year-old vision? A logic that isn't about winning, but about a genuine search for understanding, for respect, and for shared truth. It's a really powerful idea and definitely something worth thinking about.